If you want to get into competitive Smash, one technique you should learn right away is the reverse aerial rush, or RAR for short. You run forward, quickly tilt the control stick backwards to turn around, then immediately jump and input a back air. The result is that you do a back air while maintaining your forward momentum and hopefully hitting the opponent. Characters with strong, fast, and/or disjointed back airs benefit the most from this tactic. At low percent, you can use the back air as a combo starter. At mid percent, you can catch the opponent's double jump out of a disadvantaged state. And at high percents, you can go for a back air kill off the side. In Smash Ultimate, you can do any ground attack out of a dash. However, this stops your running momentum and forces you to stand in place. But there is a technique that lets you slide forward while doing the tilt. It's called pivot canceling. Make sure to set your right stick to tilt attack before attempting this trick. You run forward past your initial dash range, flick the left stick in the opposite direction, then flick the right stick either up, forward, or down to get the corresponding tilt while sliding forward. Sliding forward tilt can face left or right. Sliding up tilt can face left or right depending on how fast you tilt the right stick up after the turnaround. And for sliding down tilt, make sure you input down tilt at almost the exact same time as the turnaround, otherwise you'll face the opposite direction. The regular RAR back air involves you running forward, turning around, immediately jumping, and then doing a back air while still moving forward. The attack-cancelled back air removes the initial running dash so you can do a back air right where you stand. Set your right stick to tilt attack and one of your shoulder buttons to jump. Dash forward, then immediately tilt the right stick in the opposite direction, then immediately jump. The result is that you should do an instant reverse back air without needing to run forward at all. It's important to note this will only give you the short hop version of the attack, which does less damage than the full hop version. B-reversing is a tactic that players use to throw out a special move while also instantly changing their momentum and the direction they face. It's very useful for tricky movement in neutral and for mixing up landings in disadvantage. Just input a special move, then immediately flick the left stick in the opposite direction that you're currently facing. You mainly B-reverse neutral specials, but you can also do this with side, up, and down specials as well. You can do a forward B-reverse or a backward B-reverse. Both have their uses for movement and positioning. Keep in mind there are some moves that you cannot B-reverse at all, as well as moves that physically turn you around if you try to reverse them. B-reversing involves inputting a special move and then flicking the left stick in the opposite direction of where you're facing. Turnaround B is the opposite. First, you flick the left stick in the opposite direction of where you're facing, reset the stick to neutral if you're doing a neutral special, and then input a special move. This results in changing the direction you face, but without reversing your momentum like B-reverses do. The new dash cancel mechanics make it possible to do this technique on the ground as well as in the air. If you do a turnaround up or down special, just tilt the left stick slightly in the opposite direction of where you're facing while inputting the move, and you'll turn around. And for side specials, just do a side special away from where you're facing. The Slingshot is Villager and Isabel's forward and back airs in Smash Ultimate. Just jump in the air and input a forward or back air to use this very sophisticated tech. You can do 2 forward airs or 2 back airs in one full hop if you do the first one as soon as you jump. You can also do a back air followed by a forward air in one full hop, but not the other way around. The pellet you fire deals less damage and knockback the farther it travels, but it deals strong knockback at point-blank range, which can net you some good kills. The Slingshot is an incredibly useful movement technique that every character can use. Dash forward, then quickly flick the left stick in the opposite direction while holding diagonally up or down, then turn around and jump. There are 3 versions of the Slingshot: a flick shot, a hold shot, and a full shot. The flick shot makes you turn around while shooting forward at max airspeed. Reset the left stick to neutral before you jump. The hold shot makes you drift backwards in addition to turning around. Hold the left stick angled down or up while jumping. And the full shot makes you drift backwards more than a hold shot. Hold the left stick horizontally backward after angling it. This has all sorts of applications for both aerials and special moves. You can do flick shot neutral Bs, hold shot down Bs, and full shot side Bs. You can also space and time your aerials to pressure shields and escape situations you couldn't otherwise. Turnaround B changes the direction you face, while B reversing changes both your momentum and the direction you face. Wave bouncing combines these two techniques. Flick the left stick away from where you're facing, reset the stick to neutral if you're doing a neutral special, input the special move, then flick the left stick in the direction opposite of where you first flicked it. The end result is that you change your momentum, but not the direction you face. Wavebounce side special is the easiest to do. Just input a side B at the end instead of a neutral B. For the up and down specials, press up or down and diagonally backward from where you're facing, then flick the left stick in the opposite direction from where you just flicked it. You'll likely find it easier to use one large sweeping motion on the left stick instead of inputting each direction separately. Wave bouncing can be demanding on your left thumb, but there is another, easier way of doing the inputs. Set your right stick to tilts and one shoulder button to specials. Optionally, set another shoulder button to jump for instant buffered moves out of jump. This is called C bouncing. To C bounce a neutral B, flick the left stick away from where you're facing, reset the stick to neutral, input a special, and flick the right stick forward in any direction right after. For side B, hold the left stick backward without resetting it to neutral. For down B, tilt the left stick down and away from where you're facing, then input special and flick the right stick forward right after. And for up B, tilt the left stick up and away instead. You also have to hold forward on the left stick afterwards if you want to angle your movement. I made a video a while back about the attack cancel back air. That's become my most popular video by far, so thank you all for that. Having said that, I have to make an addendum. The input sequence I used last time is technically called an instant reverse aerial. The inputs are so similar to attack cancel back air that it's easy to get them confused. Just like before, set the right stick to tilt attack and a shoulder button to jump. Alternatively, claw grip also works if you prefer that. The proper input sequence is tilt the right stick back, immediately jump, then hold the left stick forward. This results in you canceling a forward tilt to jump and do a back air right where you stand. The difference in movement between attack cancel back air and instant reverse aerial is subtle, but the end result is the same, which is why people tend to group them together. Jab locking, or jab resetting, is a mechanic that allows players to combo opponents lying on the ground. The default way of finishing up jab locks is with uncharged smash attacks. But in Ultimate, opponents can use any get-up option out of a jab lock if you don't punish them fast enough, so you might be better off using a different punish instead. Jabs are the most common type of move that can lock, which is why the technique is named that way, but there are other types of ground and aerial moves that can lock as well. Each character has different specific moves that lock the opponent. In Ultimate, you can only lock an opponent 2 times before it stops working, so you have to punish them accordingly before they can act out of it. If you land a good hit in neutral, you'll want to extend your advantage with another quick hit of some kind. Oftentimes a good option to go for is dash attack, but it can be hard to do a dash attack out of your initial dash due to the game's buffer system, which can make you do a forward smash instead. There is a way to avoid this problem and do instant dash attacks consistently. This works with any control scheme, including smash attacks on the right stick. Simply dash forward and immediately flick forward on the right stick afterwards. This will give you a dash attack as fast as the game allows out of your initial dash. Just make sure not to flick both sticks forward at the exact same time, or you'll do a forward smash or tilt instead, depending on your right stick's setting. Ledge trumping is where a player grabs a ledge after another player grabs it in order to force the first player off of the ledge. The player who was forced off will be briefly unable to do anything, which can land you a free punish. If you're on stage, the quickest way to ledge trump would be to run off stage, fast fall, and try to grab the ledge. The moment you run off, circle the left stick around to the opposite direction you ran in. This can be tricky to get consistently because of the game's buffer system and strict timing on the inputs. It also depends on both characters' collision boxes and whether they push each other away too much. An easier way to nail the timing is to dash towards the ledge, but not run off of it right away. During your stopping animation, do the circle input at any time, and you should grab the ledge. If your character has a special move that lets them grab ledge immediately, that can be even easier. When a character recovers and grabs the ledge, sometimes there's a 2-frame window where they don't have any invulnerability. This gives opponents the chance to land a good hit and force them off stage again. This is called the 2-frame punish. Grabbing ledge from below will most often give you the full 2-frame window. Grabbing ledge from above gives you a 0-frame window, meaning you can't be punished, especially if you use a teleport recovery. In general, the window can be 0, 1, or 2 frames depending on your character and where exactly you are relative to the ledge. But just because grabbing the ledge from above is safer doesn't mean the opponent can't catch you, so you should know how to completely avoid your opponent as they try to edgeguard you. Some characters have pretty high jumps, and you may want to control their jump heights and fall speed so you can return to the ground faster. That's where the short hop and fast fall come in. The default way of short hopping is to quickly tap the jump button instead of holding it down the whole time, but in Ultimate, every character has a 3-frame jump squat, which makes the timing very strict. One trick you can use is to press 2 jump buttons at the same time, which gives you easy short hops every time. Another trick is to press jump and attack at the same time. This gives you easy short hop aerials at the cost of a bit of damage. You may also want to pair up short hops with fast falls to return to the ground quickly. Just tilt the left stick down while you're in the air. You can also do a jump without doing any aerial attacks. This is called an empty hop, or a tomahawk. This can trick the opponent into thinking you'll do an aerial and putting up their shield, leaving you to get a free grab. DI, SDI, and LSI are all important mechanics that are crucial for surviving longer. DI involves tilting the left stick in any direction you choose during the hit lag of an opponent's attack. There's a light blue line to indicate where the player will be launched once the attack finishes. If you're launched up, tilt the left stick horizontally and in the direction you're launched to increase your travel distance to the blast zone. If you're launched more horizontally, hold towards the stage to decrease your knockback. LSI involves tilting the left stick up to increase your launch speed, or down to decrease it. If you DI an attack horizontally, you may need to pick between angling high and getting launched farther out, or angling low and ending up below the stage. LSI inputs do not work at all between these angle ranges, so DI is the only real factor in vertical knockback. SDI involves repeatedly inputting a specific direction to escape a multi-hit move or a long combo. Wiggle the left stick in a given direction multiple times to escape the attack. Wave dashing is not as useful as it was in Melee. However, one technique that still has some use is wave landing. It's where you jump and then air dodge into the ground in order to slide around. It's especially useful for moving around platforms faster and recovering onto the stage quickly. Jump up from below a platform, then press shield and down on the left stick. You should air dodge into the platform and quickly land on it. For best results, time the air dodge so that your feet are overlapping the platform. You can air dodge diagonally downward to get a sliding motion when you land for tricky movement. How far you slide depends on what angle you tilt the left stick when landing, as well as your character's unique physics. When an opponent deals enough knockback to put you in a tumble animation in mid-air, you may end up hitting the ground, a wall, or a ceiling very quickly. In these situations, teching is the best way to save yourself. You press the shield button 11 frames or fewer before hitting the surface. If done right, you'll perform a tech and be able to instantly act out of your tumble animation, but if you suffer too much knockback and hit a surface too fast, you will not be able to tech at all. On the ground, you can do a neutral tech, or a tech roll forward or backward. You can also grab any items that overlap you as you tech. Against a wall, you can either do a wall tech or a wall tech jump. A normal wall tech makes you tech in place and then start falling, while a wall tech jump lets you wall jump right after teching. All characters can wall tech jump, even if they can't wall jump normally. Lastly, you can do a ceiling tech if you get thrown against a ceiling. This is the least common since competitive stages don't have ceilings, but it can come in handy if you get caught under the stage. As an extra note, you can now tech footstools if they send you towards the ground, but you cannot tech grounded meteor smashes. One of the most important time frames in competitive Smash is in between a player's stocks. When a player loses a stock, they respawn on this intangible floating platform and can stay there for a maximum of 5 seconds. If they get off the platform right away, they are invulnerable for a maximum of 2 seconds, which decreases to a minimum of 1 second the longer they stay on the platform. Additionally, if a player is KO'd off the top of the screen, they can be regularly KO'd, screen KO'd, or star KO'd. Star KOs last the longest of the three and give the other player even more time to think. During that time, the other player needs to decide what to do in order to keep pressing the advantage and not let the opponent make a comeback. Case number 1. If you have a chargeable special move, you can charge it up to full power and store it for later use. Or you can charge it up to 99% power so the opponent doesn't immediately know that the move is almost ready. Case number 2, if you can set up any traps for the opponent, try setting them up in the most beneficial places possible. Case number 3, if you don't have anything to charge or set up, then run. Make sure you are not in range of the opponent and whatever attacks they might throw out the moment they get off the platform. In this last case, your best option is to reset the match to neutral and to not let the opponent put you in disadvantage. But what if you're the one who just lost a stock and are now respawning? Option number 1. You can stay on the platform for up to 5 seconds to think about what you should do next. This is an especially good option if the opponent has a power boost active that you want to time out as much as possible. Depending on your stock advantage or disadvantage, it might be good to take a deep breath, wipe the sweat off your hands, and refocus yourself so you can play optimally in your next stock. Option number 2. If the opponent is charging up a move or setting up traps, you may want to get back in the game immediately so you can stop them ASAP. You'll have more invulnerability to deal with them as well. Option number 3. If you yourself have any chargeable moves or traps you can set up, you could start doing that immediately when you respawn and take advantage of your invulnerability. Finally, on the occasions when both players respawn at the same time, you could drop down from the platform and do a taunt to show respect for the double KO. It is a game after all, and what's the point in a game if not to have fun with it? Shielding is the default defensive option for all characters. The normal way to beat out shield is to grab the opponent, but there's a trick you can use to bypass shields entirely and still hit your opponent without grabbing them. It's called shield poking. It's where an attack hits a shielding opponent and completely ignores their shield. This trick only works if the attack hits only an exposed body part outside of the shield and not the shield itself. You need to space your attack very carefully or use a projectile to make it work. Therefore, you may just be better off breaking the shield or grabbing the opponent out of it. On the other side of the coin, the person shielding can angle their shield to prevent shield pokes from happening. You tilt the left stick slightly in the direction you want, but don't tilt it too fast or far, because you'll do a roll or a spot dodge instead. Holding 2 shield buttons, or the special attack and shield buttons, alleviates this. Then you can tilt your shield as fast and as far as you want. But keep in mind that you can't jump, roll, or do anything except grab while you're holding 2 shield buttons. You have to let go of 1 button before shielding normally again. Lastly, Inkling and Snake can't use shield plus special to shield tilt. They have to use the double shield button method. And Yoshi just can't tilt his shield at all, but he also can't be shield poked at all. The roll cancel boost grab is a good way to give yourself a boost in distance before you grab the opponent. Dash forward, then during your initial dash, press shield and then attack immediately after. This will make you roll, and then cancel your roll animation into a grab. This lets you grab opponents who may be just a little too far away to get with a regular dash grab. You can also foxtrot, or do multiple initial dashes, so you can initiate the boost grab at any time. If you press shield and attack at the same time, or if you just press the grab button, you'll only get a regular grab, so you must press shield before attack for the proper technique. Some characters can also go through opponents if you boost at the right moment, depending on the opponent's hurtbox size. In this case, you can also turn in the other direction while you grab by tilting the left stick in that direction. This leads to the roll cancel boost pivot grab, where you can grab opponents from the other side and set up for potential kills. There's also another, older version of the boost grab from Melee, which is a bit simpler to use. Dash forward, do a dash attack, and press grab within the first 3 frames of the attack. This will transfer the dash attack's momentum into a dash grab instead. Its usefulness is limited for most characters, but it's most useful with characters like Snake and Rosalina. With Snake, the boost grab grants good distance, and he does his dash attack noise while grabbing, which can assist with mind games. It also helps with tech chases out of down throw, and helps with re-grabbing out of grab releases. With Rosalina, Luma actually does a dash attack while Rosalina grabs, which makes the technique safer to land and harder to avoid while dealing preemptive damage. Perfect shielding, or parrying, is where you intercept an opponent's attack and can punish them faster than you normally would. You simply release the shield button the moment that you're hit. Dropping your shield takes 11 frames, and the parry window is the first 5 of those 11 frames. If you want to parry without already being in shield, then putting up your shield and immediately releasing it takes 3 frames, meaning the soonest you can parry anything is frame 4. A successful parry freezes the attacker for 11 extra frames, and the defender for 8 extra frames. Since the defender's 8 freeze frames replace the 11-frame shield drop animation, they can act 3 frames sooner than usual. You can perform any action out of a parry, but the fastest punish option should be a ground attack. Projectile attacks do not freeze the attacker at all, while the defender has 1 less frame of hit lag than usual. Parrying multi-hit moves is a case-by-case basis. Some multi-hits are way too fast between hits for you to parry every single one. Others can be parried on every hit provided you time each parry correctly. And others still can be auto-parried with just 1 shield drop if each hit is only a couple frames apart. When a player is put into unfavorable situations like being grabbed, stunned, or buried, they'll want to escape said situations as fast as possible. In these cases, button mashing is the best way to do so. In Ultimate, you can mash with any buttons on your controller except the C-stick and taunt buttons. But if you reassign the taunt buttons to other actions, you can use them to mash. The optimal way to efficiently mash is to rotate the control stick as fast as you can. The 4 cardinal directions are considered separate inputs, while the 4 diagonals are not, since those are just combinations of the cardinal directions. Tilting into a diagonal direction only counts as one input. Every stick input reduces your berry time by about half as much as a button input, which would mean that mashing the buttons is better than the stick. However, button inputs for different actions can only be registered every 3 frames, including if you go from button to stick and vice versa. Button inputs for the same action can be registered every 2 frames. Consecutive stick inputs can be registered every single frame, meaning there is no cooldown and rotating the stick is the best mashing option overall. But it's ultimately up to you to decide what your preferred way of mashing is. Here's a list of all the different conditions you can mash out of, according to SmashWiki. However, even if you mash as much as you can, there's a fixed amount of end lag you'll endure if you break out early, depending on what type of situation you find yourself in. So keep that in mind if the opponent looks like they can get good follow-ups. Footstool jumps are where one character jumps on another character's head and goes high into the air as a result. All characters can do this either on the ground or in the air. Doing it on the ground will force the opponent into a recoil animation from the footstool, while doing it in the air will cause the opponent to tumble a set distance. You can do consecutive footstool jumps between 2 to 6 times in total before you have to stop, depending on the character jumping and their fall speed. You can short hop footstools just like regular jumps, and you can footstool opponents hanging on the ledge as well. You cannot footstool sleeping opponents, and you cannot interrupt an opponent doing a move either on the ground or in the air. But you can still jump off of them without short hopping. This is called a phantom footstool. The best use of footstools is as a surprise edge guarding tool because of the set distance it sends the opponent tumbling. But you can also use it on stage as a combo starter or as a tech chase starter. But make sure not to footstool Piranha Plant while it's crouching, or it'll take a big bite out of you. Several characters have ways of recovering to the stage by grabbing the ledge from a distance with a long, rope-like object. These are called Tether Recoveries. These types of recoveries will automatically home in on the nearest ledge when they're used off-stage. There are 3 types of Tether Recovery inputs: special moves, grab aerials or zairs, and regular aerials. Here's a list of all the Tether Recoveries in Smash Ultimate, which you can find on SmashWiki. Once you tether to the ledge, you have 3 options. Stay there for a few seconds until you automatically pull up, press almost any button, including up on the left stick or any direction on the C stick to pull up early, or tilt down on the left stick to let go and fall. Tilting left or right on the left stick will not do anything. If an opponent is already occupying the ledge, that opponent will still hang on to the ledge even if another player tether grabs it. But once the second player grabs the ledge normally, the first player will be forced off. If 2 or more players tether recover at the same time, they can all hang in the air until they start pulling up to grab the ledge normally. Depending on what angle you tether to the ledge from, your character may swing around a bit before stopping. Be careful with this, as you have no intangibility or invulnerability while tether grabbing. You can only grab the ledge a total of 6 times in a row before it completely stops working. Yes, tether grabbing does count towards the 6 grab limit. However, tether grabbing and then normally ledge grabbing in one recovery only counts as one ledge grab, so don't worry about one tether grab counting twice towards the limit. But there is a cooldown between doing a normal ledge grab and immediately using a tether recovery afterward, so keep that in mind if you're stalling at the ledge. Lastly, you should also know that tethering a ledge, tilting down to cancel it, and then tether grabbing the ledge again will have side effects. Normally, when you grab and re-grab a ledge without a tether, you'll have less intangibility both on ledge grab and on your get-up options. But if you tether grab a ledge twice before recovering, you'll have full intangibility when grabbing the ledge normally, but your get-up options will still have less intangibility. This also applies if you grab the ledge with a tether move first, tilt down, and then grab ledge with a normal non-tether move afterwards. When a player recovers to the stage, they'll want to grab the nearest ledge and hang on to it to get back onto the stage safely. The opponent's task is to stop the first player from getting back on stage. This is where ledge trapping comes into play. The first time a person grabs the ledge while recovering, they'll have a certain amount of intangibility based on their percentage and how long they've been in the air. If they keep dropping and re-grabbing the ledge over and over, they'll quickly run out of intangibility so they can't stall. The player hanging onto the ledge has 6 options: neutral get up attack, ledge roll, ledge jump, drop from the ledge and jump back up, and wait on the ledge. The 2 best options for covering all ledge get up options are stand between the opponent's neutral get up and ledge roll distances, and stand just outside ledge roll distance. In the first case, you can react to the opponent's neutral getup and roll by grabbing or attacking them. You can react to their jump by attacking, staying underneath them to throw off their landing, or tricking them into attacking you and sending them off stage again. Dropping from ledge and jumping back up could make the opponent lose their jump if you can hit them out of it, putting them in an even worse state than before. Waiting on the ledge will stop working once their intangibility runs out and you can attack them. The second case still lets you react to neutral get up and roll, as well as ledge jump and drop jump while being further on stage. You can pressure the opponent at the ledge however you think is best, but what you should not do is throw out a move early and let them get back to the stage for free. A third option would be to ledge trump the opponent and go for a punish the moment they're forced off the ledge. Your success rate may vary based on timing and other factors, but it can be a good way to catch the opponent by surprise. On the other hand, if you're the one stuck at the ledge, make sure to mix up your options and don't do the same one every time you recover. The opponent can catch on easily to your habits and punish you accordingly. Forcing the opponent off the screen is the #1 gameplay element of Super Smash Bros. In order to avoid being forced off screen, every character has different ways of recovering to the stage. All characters have these universal ways of getting back to the stage: a double jump, sometimes more than one, special moves, mostly up and side specials, and directional air dodges. Different characters have several unique ways of getting back to the stage depending on their moveset and certain individual attributes they have. When you're learning a character for the first time, you need to figure out all their recovery options and which ones are best at any given moment. Then you should practice them. Not just getting back to the stage, but also things like, when does each move snap to the ledge? Does a move ledge snap at all? Can you use multiple moves in one recovery? Which moves leave you helpless? Does my character have a wall jump or a tether recovery? Is it better to recover high or low?
And so on and so forth.
In an actual match, there will inevitably be moments where you're forced off stage and have to make it back so you don't lose your stock. The opponent will do whatever they can to keep you off stage and force you to lose that stock as early as possible. On the other hand, if you're the one trying to keep the opponent off the stage, you need to know what recovery options they have and which ones you think they'll use. Whatever you do, try not to use the same recovery options over and over in a single match if you can help it. The opponent can catch on to your habits and punish you for it.
And it's going to be Kazuya, Ness. That's pretty much what we expected.
All right.
Was that 32%?
Just right off the rip?
What?
I think he's dead.
KO'd.
The start of a match is one of the most critical moments in Smash, as it makes both players start on equal footing with 3 stocks and 0 damage. All characters will spawn on the stage with a unique on-screen appearance. Exactly where they appear on the stage is determined by the stage's layout. Your goal at the start should be to get to center stage, or at least onto the stage's main ground, as fast as possible, and not let your opponent get there first. Center stage is the best place to be with the most possible options, while being on a platform or at the corner gives you far fewer options, and being off stage is the worst position of all. It's also better to be below your opponent instead of above them, as being below the opponent lets you hit them with your up-directional moves. Therefore, if you start the match on a platform, you want to immediately get down to the main stage and wait for the opponent to throw out an unsafe move or overcommit to a specific action that lets you punish them. Another important objective is to score the first hit on your opponent and put them in an unfavorable situation where they have limited options to escape. But if you're the one who gets hit first, don't fret right away. You still have 3 whole stocks to rack up damage on the opponent and turn the tide of the battle. Some players may go for an aggressive option right from the start, which may catch you off guard the first time. But you can keep that in mind for the next game so you can avoid being put into a deficit in the first 10 seconds. You should also keep in mind that a big, brightly colored Go appears at the start of a match, and you could make use of it to obscure your movement for a fraction of a second. This is pretty situational though, since it only happens once per match and is very quick. It's crucial to keep both the characters and both players' mindsets in mind as you start. What options do both of you have? What do you think the other player will do first? If you're in a tournament setting or are otherwise playing multiple games against them in a row, you could rely on your knowledge of the previous matches you played to predict what they'll do. In general, going for an aggressive option like a dash attack right from the get-go is not recommended, as the opponent could easily defend themselves and punish you for it. Finally, you don't only prepare for a match at the start of it, you also prepare for it outside of it. Before you sit down at a setup and select your stage and character, you could take a few deep breaths, look at your written notes if you have any, and mentally prepare yourself for the match so you don't get caught off guard by anything. You can also practice your gameplay by going into training mode and labbing out combos or setups that could possibly work, or by playing real matches against other people. If there's a particular player or character you want more practice against, then use the knowledge you gained about their playstyle from the last time you fought them to adapt to their gameplay this time. Don't take each game in a vacuum. Instead, learn from the previous matches you played and use your new knowledge to your advantage. Auto-canceling an aerial is when a player lands during the first few or last few frames of that aerial and goes through less landing lag than usual. A-landing is specifically landing during the first few frames of an aerial. All characters have a normal landing animation out of a jump that lasts 2 to 6 frames on average, which is very quick. But depending on each character's aerial attack animations and the timing of your landing, they could enter a different landing animation with higher landing lag, which leaves you open to being punished. You should aim for the normal landing animation out of a jump when auto-canceling. Auto-cancelling's primary use is to avoid landing lag on otherwise laggy aerials, as well as to perform follow-ups and extend combos more consistently. A-landing's main use is to allow you to escape your tumble animation much faster than teching, missing the tech, or landing in the middle of an aerial. Every aerial has its own unique auto-cancel window. Many aerials auto-cancel out of a short hop and or a full hop, while others do not. It's a case-by-case basis, so look up which aerials your character can auto-cancel, as well as the specific frame windows they can do it. Here are 3 different examples of character-specific aerials that auto-cancel. Donkey Kong's neutral air auto-cancels on frames 1 through 9, making it a fantastic A-landing option. It also auto-cancels from frame 27 and afterward, which makes the move a great combo tool. Fox's up air auto-cancels out of a short hop, which allows it to combo into itself 3 to 4 times if you land it below a platform. Pikachu's back air auto-cancels out of a short hop, which lets it combo into itself several times. These are just a few examples. If you want to know which aerials on your character auto-cancel, I recommend you check out ultimateframedata.com for all the info. This website has hitbox visuals for every attack on every character, as well as frame data, damage output, and auto-cancel windows for aerials. You can also look up individual attacks on Smash Wiki with this URL format here.
Casey comes in, and System X is actually just reacting to it. He's like, I don't... No, he didn't.
No,
he didn't.
No,
Look, he like, yo.
No, fiend.
Rage is a universal comeback mechanic where the more damage a fighter has taken, the more knockback their attacks do. This mechanic debuted in Smash 4, where it could lead to some pretty crazy shenanigans. Rage starts at 35% and maxes out at 150%. The characters start flashing red and emitting smoke when they reach 100%, which keeps going until 150%. The character portraits also start emitting smoke. Compared to Smash 4, Rage scales at a slower rate than before, and the highest knockback multiplier was decreased from 1.15 times to 1.1 times. Smash 4 Rage was most obvious on attacks with set knockback, also known as hitboxes that did not increase their knockback based on the opponent's damage percent. In Ultimate, Rage no longer works on hitboxes with set knockback, but it still plays a big role in increasing attacks' kill power. In general, Rage is most beneficial on heavyweight fighters, as they can survive longer than lightweights and aren't as reliant on long, escapable multi-hit combos to rack up damage and kill the opponent. Rage stacks with certain fighters' exclusive abilities they have that also increase their damage and knockback, including Lucario and his Aura mechanic, which makes him the biggest beneficiary of Rage by a huge margin, Terry's super special moves, Sephiroth's one-winged form, Joker's Arsene mode, and Kazuya's own Rage mechanic from Tekken. You can test out Rage in training mode, along with stale move negation, if you toggle the stale moves option on. This can help you lab out combos and kill setups better.
Well, it's just that Ashimo kind of played better out of shield at the end. My God, you just took so much. Oh my God! No!
Ashimo is here!
Kill confirms are fast and safe attacks designed to combo into other attacks strong enough to KO the opponent. Normal combos usually only work at low to mid percents, but kill confirms can also work at high percents. Finishing moves like smash attacks are difficult to use by themselves since they have considerable startup lag or end lag, or a small sweet spot. This leaves you open to being punished if you miss. Kill confirms are faster and more difficult to react to. There are many different types of kill confirms, including a low knockback attack which leads into a strong hit that can KO, a high knockback throw that KOs by itself, a low knockback throw that combos into a strong hit, a tech chase setup, and a jab lock setup. Whether a kill confirm works in a given situation depends on several factors. The opponent's weight, fall speed, DI, and the rage system are just a few things that can change the efficacy of certain kill confirms. Here are a few character-specific kill confirms. Zero Suit Samus's flip jump buries opponents in the ground, which leaves them vulnerable to being KO'd by her boost kick. Pyra's enormous down air can be used on stage to pop opponents up in the air and lead into an up smash kill. The first hit of Link's back air can lead into his forward smash, up smash, or grounded spin attack. Captain Falcon can chain multiple up airs into his iconic knee smash forward air, which leads to really early kills. Ryu and Ken can use their heavy proximity jab to confirm into true Shoryuken at mid to high percents. If you feel like you have trouble scoring KOs with your character, I recommend you look up guides on your specific fighter and how to use them optimally. You can also look up footage of past tournaments where top-level players use your character and see what they do to score KOs. Another option is to go into training mode, turn on the stale moves option, and test out your fighter's kill confirms at various percents to see what works and what doesn't. Here's a Smash Wiki page containing a list of basic kill confirms for every character in every Smash game. Smash Bros. Is as much a mental game as it is a physical one. In addition to knowing how to play the game with the controller in your hands, you also need to have a sharp mind that keeps you alert and aware of the in-game situation. As you keep track of both characters on the screen, you need to constantly take note of the actions your opponent takes and adapt accordingly to get the most payoff for your actions. On that note, predicting the opponent's movements and actions is the most basic mind game. You guess what the opponent will do next based on their habits and patterns, and preemptively make a move based on that prediction. Guessing correctly is called a read. Reads themselves are split into soft and hard reads. Soft reads are where you cover multiple options the opponent could take at the cost of not punishing them in the best possible way. An example would be a ledge trap scenario. The player at the ledge has a limited number of options to get back onto the stage from the ledge. The other player would then cover several of those options with a single move that may not necessarily be the best option to take, but will increase the chance of the trapped player being punished in the end. Hard reads are where the player covers only one option the opponent could take with the best possible punish for that option, at the cost of completely missing out on covering other options. Going back to the ledge trap scenario, let's say you stand just outside of ledge roll distance and charge up a forward smash. You are only reading the ledge roll option. This will give you a huge reward if you guess right, but you'll let the opponent back on stage for free if you guess wrong. All the technical skill in the world won't mean much if you can't ever hit the opponent, so you should take note of the opponent's habits and exploit them to your advantage. Running off a ledge sends you falling at an angle from the ground, which forces you to reposition yourself if you want to edgeguard low recoveries quickly. You would normally need to short hop off the ledge and hold backward to end up right under the stage, but with crouch ledge slipping, you can instantly fall straight down with no forward momentum. Dash forward to the ledge, buffer a crouch straight down, then tilt down and forward. If you tilt forward and then reset the stick to neutral right afterwards, you'll grab the ledge immediately. This can be used for ledge trumps, but if you use an aerial right after resetting the stick, you'll do that aerial without grabbing the ledge. If you tilt and hold down after tilting down forward, you'll fall straight past the ledge without grabbing it. If your character has a crawl, make sure to tilt the left stick slightly more downward when inputting down forward if you want to fall past the ledge. This tech lets you use better positioning off stage when edgeguarding opponents, which lowers the risk of opponents hitting you on the way up. Using this technique on a stage with bottomless walls gives you new wall jump and wall cling edgeguard options too. Wall jumping is a technique which enables many characters to jump off a vertical wall or an overhanging ledge wall. While in the air, tilt the left stick away from the wall right next to you to wall jump. You can only wall jump once on a specific wall before touching the ground. If you alternate between walls, you'll be able to keep wall jumping for a while, but your vertical boost will get smaller. Using a wall jump does not use up your double jump, nor does using a double jump use up your wall jump. A good chunk of the cast is able to wall jump, but not everyone can. Byleth cannot wall jump normally, but they can wall jump with their up special up to 3 times before it stops working. Wall clinging is an extension of wall jumping where the character can stay on the wall for several seconds and jump off whenever they want. While in the air, hold the left stick towards the wall next to you, and you can let go once your character sticks to the wall. Lucario can also use his up special aimed at the wall to cling to it. You have 3 options: tilt away from the wall to wall jump, tilt up or press jump to jump up, or tilt down to let go and fall. The first time you wall cling lasts for up to 3 seconds, but the second cling lasts only 1.5 seconds. Each cling afterwards gets shorter, so clinging only once or twice per recovery is practical in an actual match. You can cling to a higher spot on the wall than the first time if you jump up and then double jump. You can also cling to the same wall multiple times and take any action out of each cling. This could potentially lead to very high recoveries. Only 6 characters are able to wall cling: Bayonetta, Diddy Kong, Greninja, Lucario, Sheik, and Squirtle. Corrin can pseudo-wall cling with their side special, and Sephiroth can use his forward air. Corrin can only use side special once in the air before landing, so they can cling to the wall once while recovering. After pinning to the wall, you can tilt left or right to use the move's second hit, which you can use to ledge snap. You can also tilt up or press jump to jump up, or tilt down to let go and fall. Sephiroth's forward air can be used to wall cling up to 3 times before landing. Like regular wall clings, you can tilt up or press jump to jump up, but tilting down or away both make you let go and fall. There's also a limit to the distance below the ledge that you can wall cling. Going too far below will make it stop working. Lastly, all characters can wall tech jump if they hold shield and either up or a jump button right before hitting a wall. This is possible even if a character cannot wall jump normally. This is useful as an emergency recovery option if the opponent tries to stage spike you. Some characters can create and throw their own items, which forms a crucial part of their game plan. Items can be used by any character, and doing well in certain matchups often heavily depends on using these items effectively. Here are all the basic ways you can use items. Press the attack button to grab an item either on the ground or in the air. You can also grab items by using a tilt attack or a dash attack right next to an item on the ground. In the air, you can do an aerial or an air dodge to grab items out of mid-air. Press the attack button while holding an item to throw it. You can throw the item farther than normal by doing a smash attack input. If you're using an item that has melee or projectile attacks, you can throw the item with the grab button and a directional input instead. In the air, you can throw the item in any direction you choose by inputting an aerial in that direction. Neutral airs will throw the item forward. You can also use smash attack inputs to throw the items faster and farther. Press the grab button on the ground or in the air to discard the item you're holding. In the air, the discarded item goes straight down. This is called a Z-drop. It's a crucial element in certain item combos. A few items in the game are much heavier than normal. You're limited to walking around slowly, throwing the item, or falling off the ledge and dropping the item. Be careful if you're using these items, as they leave you much more vulnerable than normal. Unless you're Donkey Kong, who can carry these items around with no problem. Items can be reflected if the opponent has a move that can reflect projectiles. In these cases, the items are sent back in the same direction they came from with more attack power. Villager and Isabelle can pocket items with their neutral specials. If the pocketed item is one from an opponent's moveset, and they can't spawn more than one of that item at a time, they will not be able to make any more of that item until it's unpocketed. If an item produces an explosion or an energy beam, then Ness, Lucas, Mr. Game & Watch, and Me Gunner can absorb those explosions with their down specials. They will heal the user for a certain amount depending on how strong the absorbed hitbox was. Kirby, King Dedede, and Wario can all swallow items on the field with their neutral specials. Most items will heal them for a small amount, but explosive items will harm them instead. It's possible to make opponents drop an item in their hands if they're hit hard enough. The game randomly determines if an item is dropped through specific formulas, but basically, the higher the damage of the attack, the higher the chance that the item will be dropped. These are all the basic ways items are used in Smash. If a character you play has items, you want to know how to use them optimally to win. If a character you're fighting against has items, you want to know how to use them effectively against them to win. One option for recovering to the stage is to wall jump off the underside of the stage. This is easiest to do with straight walls like the ones on Kalos Pokemon League or Pokemon Stadium 2. But other ledges like Battlefield or Final Destination are still possible to wall jump off of. But did you know you can also wall jump right away after dropping from the ledge? This is called an instant wall jump. You hang from the ledge, tilt back to let go and fall, then just a few frames afterward tilt towards the ledge to wall jump. This may seem counterintuitive if you're used to regular wall jumping, which involves tilting the stick away from the wall when you're next to it. Practicing this can help you get it into your muscle memory. You can also instant wall jump while you're still on the stage. Dash towards the ledge, then in the last few frames of your stopping animation, do an almost half-circle motion away from and then towards the ledge. If you tilt too far down, you'll fast fall. If you tilt too far left or right, you'll grab the ledge. GameCube controllers should make this tech easier thanks to their pointed notches. How consistent you are with this technique depends on your character's physics, especially their fall speed, as well as the shape of the ledge you're jumping off of. I recommend you practice this tech in training mode with various characters and stages to get used to the timing. This can open up new edgeguard options for your character, provided that they're able to wall jump to begin with. Or if you're recovering back to the stage and grab the ledge, you can use this as an extra mix-up option for getting back to the ground. Spiking opponents off stage is one of the most satisfying feelings in Smash Bros. But going for a spike is often risky because of your character's fall speed, and lag on their aerials, and/or mediocre recovery. Any combination of these factors could make you lose your stock unintentionally. There is a way to spike opponents more safely from the ledge. It's called the T-Spike. It's named after the Japanese player T, one of the world's best-known Link players. While hanging onto the ledge, let go and fall, then do a double jump down air, or whichever move your character uses to spike. Afterwards, drift towards the stage and land on the ground. You can use the standard controls to pull this off, but it might be better to use a shoulder button to jump, and use the C stick for the aerial so you can save the left stick for drifting back to stage. Another way of doing it is to run off stage, double jump back, and do a down air while drifting back to stage. This is useful if you don't have time to grab the ledge and use the first method. The best outcome is for you to spike the opponent and land on stage. If you don't, you risk self-destructing if you can't use your up B out of your spike's end lag in time. Link's down air lets him bounce back up if he hits an opponent, which can greatly help his recovery. Characters can best pull this off if they have a spike that is quick, powerful, and does not send you plummeting into the abyss. This is best used against low recoveries, as trying this against high recoveries will just let the opponent get back to stage for free. This isn't the only option you have to edgeguard opponents, but it could be an unexpected option to take, as long as you don't get predictable with it. If a player shields too much, it gets smaller and eventually breaks. Shield breaks can be done faster if the opponent chains several attacks with heavy shield stun and damage together, or if they use one move that does a ton of shield damage by itself. The shield broken player will pop up in the air and fall back down, and they will be unable to do anything. They are intangible during this jump animation, unless it's the last 5 seconds of a match. The player will exit this dizzy state after a set time, which can be decreased by button mashing. When a player's shield breaks, if they're right at the edge of the stage, you can push them off by walking forward. They will fall helplessly to the bottom of the screen and lose a life. If the player lands on the stage and becomes dizzy, that leaves the opponent plenty of time to set up a potentially deadly punish. Just be sure not to hit the dizzy fighter with weak attacks during this time, as the slightest flinch will end their dizzy state. They will also be forced out of dizziness if they're pushed off the surface they're standing on. Footstools will also end the dizziness early. However, moves that deal damage but no hit stun can be used safely. You can run forward and push the opponent towards the edge of the stage or the platform and fully charge up a smash attack. If you have another move more powerful than a fully charged smash attack, use that instead. Or you could set up some kind of combo that can lead into an early KO. If you're the one getting shield broken, then mash out of the dizzy animation as fast as you can. Rotating the left stick as fast as possible is the best mashing method. Lastly, you especially do not want to be shield broken as Jigglypuff, as that means an instant KO, unless you have a ceiling above you. Rolling gets stale the more you use it, meaning you suffer more end lag and have less intangibility the more often you roll. In addition, backward rolls are now slightly worse than forward rolls. Back rolls have 5 more frames of end lag on average than forward rolls when they're completely fresh. Back rolls also make you intangible 1 frame later on average than forward rolls. Sometimes you'll be forced to roll away from the opponent to quickly escape pressure. Normally you'd have to roll backward and endure its higher end lag and later intangibility, but there is a way to roll faster and farther away than usual. It's called boost rolling. Just turn around, then within 2 frames press the shield button. This should let you do a forward roll when you would normally do a back roll. If you shield too early, you'll back roll. If you shield too late, you'll dash and shield. You can boost roll multiple times in a row if you're consistent with it, but you still have to deal with the staling mechanic and increased end lag on each roll, so I wouldn't recommend spamming boost rolls. Even so, this is a good way to get around some of rolling's limitations in a pinch. In one of my earliest videos, I talked about the pivot cancel tilt technique. It's where you run forward, tilt the left stick back, then input a tilt attack on the C stick. This lets you do a tilt attack while sliding forward. The extended dash cancel is kind of similar, but it has more applications than just tilts. While pivot cancel tilts work after the initial dash, EDC attacks work during the initial dash. It's actually very easy to do, and you may have been doing it unintentionally already. Dash forward, then during the initial dash animation, tilt the C stick in whatever direction you choose to get the corresponding tilt. Make sure to hold forward during the entire process to get the extra distance. Tilt attacks are the most practical moves for this technique. I should note, the EDC forward tilt must be done by tilting the C stick in the opposite direction you're running, because tilting it forward will make you do a dash attack instead. You can also do EDC reverse up and down tilts by tilting the C stick vertically and then slightly backward from the direction you're running. However, this technique does not work with up smashes, up specials, or side specials. If you want to do an EDC attack without using the C stick, like a jab or a smash attack, it's a bit more difficult. Dash forward, recenter the left stick, do the attack input, and dash again. This must all be done in the initial dash animation, so it can be tricky to get the timing down at first. This works with jabs, smash attacks, and neutral and down specials. It's a good micro-spacing tool and a good way to extend combos or have a burst option for kill moves. If you're dashing towards an opponent and they throw out an attack, your first instinct may be to shield, but sometimes their attack comes out too quickly for you to react in time. This is where dash shielding comes into play. Just dash forward, then press the shield button while holding forward. Normally when you run up and shield, you let go of the stick and press shield. But dash shielding is much faster. Dash shielding will let you avoid being punished by options which are otherwise too fast, will let you punish those pesky spot dodges, and will let you space yourself from the opponent better for certain approaches. However, a few characters' dash shields actually cover more distance than their dash stop and shield. Having said that, there is another way to better space yourself from the opponent which requires slightly different inputs. It's called the dash angled shield. You dash forward, tilt the left stick diagonally up or down, and then shield. But don't angle too far up or down, as you might do a tap jump or a spot dodge by mistake. This lets your character dash forward at a slower pace than usual. GameCube controllers' pointed notches should help a lot with this technique, but Pro controllers can also make use of notches with special third-party shells you can buy online. Both of these techniques achieve the same result of controlling the distance between you and your opponent when you put up your shield. But their usefulness can vary for each character based on their dashing physics and how quickly they can put up their shield. Use these tactics for microspacing your approaches, preventing cross-ups, and blocking attacks that would otherwise hit you.
You do need that edge guard, and I think you should take me seriously, because look at the scoreboard right now.
Yeah, I got numbers on the...
Oh! Yo, did he just walk up slowly and down smash?
He did. He really did, though.
Oh.
It can be pretty difficult to smoothly do a walk out of a dash. You have to reset the left stick and then tilt it forward gently so you don't do another dash. Ultimate's dash cancel system really helps in this regard, letting you do just about any option out of a dash. But sometimes there are benefits to just walking, and there is a way to go from a dash to a walk smoothly without any issue. It's called dash walking. Just dash forward, then flick up, down, or back on the C stick right after. If you flick forward, you'll do a dash attack. If you flick up with smash stick on, you'll do an up smash. If you flick any direction too late, you'll do a buffered attack. Walking by itself can be too slow, while dashing and running could make you overshoot your distance and let the opponent hit you more easily. Dash walking is a nice middle ground which can open up new options in various situations. For instance, you can dash walk and then quickly do a standing grab, which has less end lag than a dash grab. You can also dash walk to gain extra distance that will let your attacks reach the opponent when they wouldn't otherwise. Some characters gain extra distance from their dash walk by sliding forward, which can help with safely gaining distance towards or away from the opponent. Many characters have attacks called stall then falls. These are moves where the fighter briefly pauses in the air, then dives down very fast with an attack. These are most often down airs, but many special moves have this property too. Many of these attacks send you diagonally down and forward, while others send you straight down. Down air stall then falls add a lot of downward momentum for the fighter using them, meaning that they will keep moving down at that speed even after the move ends. Some special moves stall then falls use scripted movement instead, which means that their momentum will stop or at least rapidly decrease once you cancel or end the move. Some aerials will keep going down whether they hit an opponent or not, while others will make the attacker bounce back up if they hit. A lot of these attacks send you down faster than falling normally, even if you fast fall. There are several ways you can use these attacks. Use the attack on stage out of hit stun or while being juggled to quickly get back to the ground, as well as get a free hit in if the opponent is chasing after you. But don't do this every time, or the opponent will catch on and punish you for it. Use the attack right as you start dropping below a platform. The first part of the attack gives you a small upward boost, which will make you land on the platform immediately. This can be a potential stalling tactic. Normally these attacks are too risky to use off stage because they practically guarantee a self-destruct. But if you start from high above the ledge, you could use the attack to hit a recovering opponent and still make it back with your double jump and up special. If you're particularly brave, you could spike opponents with the move Sweet Spot, but you'll likely lose your own stock in the process. So only use this as an absolute last resort, or if you have at least one more stock than the opponent. If you miss, you'll either self-destruct or leave yourself open for a reverse edge guard. You could try using the move right above the ledge so you can land safely if the attack's hitbox is long enough. Stall then falls are flashy to use, especially if you spike with them, but they're also very risky due to how far down they send you. Careful and methodical use of these attacks can be vital in certain characters' game plans. Avoiding the opponent's attacks is crucial in any fight, and Smash Bros. Allows you to dodge attacks by using the shield button and tilting the left stick in any direction. Sakurai made a big deal of directional air dodges coming back to Smash Ultimate after they were absent from Brawl and Smash 4. They are certainly a big deal, but there are useful grounded dodging options too. Spot dodges are done by putting up your shield and then tilting down on the left stick. Spot dodge cancels are a good way to immediately respond to an enemy attack if you're right in front of them. Almost all spot dodges give you intangibility on frame 3 when they're totally fresh. The only exceptions are Bayonetta and Mithra, who can activate their exclusive special abilities on frame 2. In addition, all spot dodges last between 23 to 31 frames when fresh, and between 30 to 40 frames when completely stale. Spot dodge cancels let you do an attack out of spot dodge 5 frames earlier than ending the dodge normally. You can use any grounded attack out of spot dodge, including special moves, but not including grabs or dash attacks. Terry actually has a unique spot dodge cancel attack, which is a modified version of his up tilt. You just press the attack button right after his spot dodge. He's the only character in the game with this distinction. If you're facing an opponent who spot dodges frequently, your best bet is to delay your own attack so you don't get caught up in their pace. Wait for them to finish the dodge and punish them accordingly. Smash Ultimate made a lot of changes to the universal gameplay engine from Smash 4. One of the most important changes is the jostling mechanic. You can no longer run through your opponent like you could in previous games. Several moves that used to go through opponents' shields cannot do that anymore. However, there are still a few ways that you can cross up opponents in the game. Cross-ups are where you time and position an attack so you end up on the other side of the opponent. Several dash attacks are capable of this, several down tilts can do so, mainly the ones that slide you forward, and some special moves can do this as well. If you want to see which moves your character has that can cross up, then go into training mode and test out all your attacks that make your character move a large distance. Make sure to test against opponents with and without their shields up. The best use of these kinds of attacks is to start a combo and follow up with another fast move of some kind. Or you just kill them if the move is strong enough. If the move is too weak to KO but too strong to combo, then you just reset to neutral. In any case, cross-ups are meant to reposition yourself relative to the opponent in order to throw off their attack patterns. If you're crossing up a shield, then you can do any of the following. Run in and grab the opponent out of shield, wait for the opponent to do something and react accordingly, or get away and reset the situation to neutral. One unexpected way you can grab the opponent is the roll cancel boost pivot grab, which I talked about in another video several months ago. Some characters can run past opponents' shields with a roll cancel boost grab, and then tilt the left stick back right after to turn around and grab the opponent from behind. You should watch out for opponents with really good out-of-shield options, especially if those moves have large hitboxes that cover both sides, can be B-reversed, or just kill you at high percents. You should also take care to not land yourself in front of the opponent with bad attack positioning and timing. Edgeguarding is a key component of Smash gameplay. When you knock an opponent off stage, you want to do everything you can to stop them from making it back. The regular way of edgeguarding is to hit a recovering opponent with a powerful enough attack that they get sent flying to the blast zone and lose a life. But another way to take a stock is to gimp the opponent off stage. Unlike regular edge guards, Gimping involves interrupting an opponent's recovery with a weak attack that would not normally KO them. The interruption forces the opponent to burn more of their resources getting back to stage than they would have if they were not interrupted. The best outcome, or worst outcome in their case, is that they will fail to make it back to stage and lose a stock much earlier than usual. Characters with predictable, low distance, and easily intercepted recoveries are the easiest ones to gimp. There are many ways to gimp the opponent, so here are a few examples. Interrupt an opponent's double jump, especially at the beginning of their jump. Use wind boxes or non-flinching attacks to push opponents away without resetting their recovery. Do a semi-spike or a meteor smash that's not quite strong enough to KO, but still stops their recovery dead in its tracks. Use projectiles to interrupt a recovery. Footstool an opponent off stage. The forced tumble animation could be enough to take the stock. Unlike traditional fighting games where every character has a set amount of health, you can lose your stock at any time in Smash. That's part of why Smash can be so difficult to be consistent with. You never know if otherwise weak moves could cost you an entire stock in just a few seconds. Pay attention when you're in a match. Putting up a shield is the primary way of defending yourself. When you're not in shield and you get hit by a big combo, your best bet of escaping is to SDI out of the combo by wiggling out and away from the attack. One thing you may not know is that when you get hit in your shield, you can actually move yourself around a bit by tilting the left stick right as you get hit. This is called in-shield SDI. Normally, tilting the left stick too fast would make you do a roll or a spot dodge, and tilting too late will make you buffer a roll. But if you hold two shield buttons, or shield plus special, and tilt the left stick, in-shield SDI becomes much easier to do. You're not able to roll, jump, or do anything while holding two shield buttons. All you can do is tilt your shield in any direction, or do a grab. You can also SDI during a parry, which can help with spacing your punishes. You don't need to use two shield buttons or shield plus special for this tech. In-shield SDI doesn't have much practical use since shields get smaller over time, and especially since it's easier to just dodge away from the opponent at a moment's notice. But it is still a tip that the developers intentionally put into the game, which means they thought it would be valuable for people to use. Try it out the next time you're about to eat a forward smash or some other strong attack. Putting up a shield is the primary way of defending yourself. The regular way of getting out of your shield is dropping the shield. But this takes 11 frames, which can be pretty slow and not optimal in certain situations. There are several options you can take out of shield to react to an opponent's attacks, all of which are faster than dropping shield. Shield grabbing can be used to punish poorly spaced or timed attacks. Characters with good combo throws or kill throws benefit the most from this. Many characters have fast, strong, and or versatile up specials that are great out of shield punish options. You mainly use these to reset the situation to neutral, or even to KO the opponent if they're at a high enough percent. Like up specials, up smashes are also good reactionary punish options against opponents hitting your shield. Up smashes should be saved for when the opponent is at high percents, as that will minimize stealing the up smashes and help them kill earlier. You can instantly jump out of shield and perform any aerial attack. Since every character has a 3-frame jump squat, this makes jumping one of the fastest out of shield options you can use. It's especially useful for characters whose other out of shield options are too slow. You can roll to either side, or do a spot dodge by tilting the left stick in the intended direction out of shield. But the more you dodge in a few seconds, the more the dodges will stale. Try not to spam these too much. You can also cancel spot dodges into attacks a few frames after the dodge ends. Perfect shielding in this game involves dropping your shield and letting an opponent's attack hit you within 5 frames of dropping it. This makes perfect shields harder to pull off than in previous games, but also more rewarding, as you can perform any action out of a parry. Duck Hunt can actually use their attack moves while shielding, if the projectiles are already out. This gives them a unique attack option. Greninja's Shadow Sneak can be used while shielding, without even needing to jump first. You will have to drop your shield first, which could leave you vulnerable if you're being attacked. Sometimes the best offense is a good defense. Use your shield as both defense and offense. Recovering back to the stage is a central part of Smash. Some characters have much better recovery than others. When we say that a character's recovery is good or bad, it mainly refers to how long it takes before that character becomes helpless, also known as entering Freefall. When you're helpless, your character starts flickering, and you fall straight down without being able to do anything. The only things you can do are tilt left or right to slowly drift in that direction, and tilt down to fast fall. When you're recovering, you want to do everything you can to avoid going into Freefall too early. Every character has different moves that put them into Freefall. Only special moves put you into Freefall. There are no aerial attacks which can do so. It's mostly up specials that cause Helplessness, but some side specials can do so too. For some characters, you almost never see their helpless state, because their primary recovery moves either send them plummeting straight down, or put them into unique states that aren't quite helpless, but still leave them with fewer options than before. Some characters have tricks they can use to get out of helplessness and extend their recovery. For example, Young Link and Toon Link can use their bombs to explode on them while recovering. If the bombs explode while they're in Freefall, they will flinch and reset their recoveries. Link's remote bomb can only explode on its own after 30 seconds, meaning that it's useless for getting out of Freefall. Peach and Daisy can go into Freefall voluntarily with their up specials by tilting down. Then, they can tilt up to open their parasols again. They can do this as many times as they want before hitting the stage or the blast zone. But if they leave the parasol out for at least 8 seconds, they will enter true helplessness and cannot use this trick anymore. On the flip side of the coin, if you use moves that don't cause hit stun, like Mario's Flood and Cape or Pac-Man's Hydrant, on a helpless opponent, they will not flinch and remain helpless. If you use them to push an opponent off the stage right as they land out of a recovery move, that opponent will become helpless and fall to their death. The timing is tricky, but it can be hilarious to watch. If you're edgeguarding Pac-Man and he uses his trampoline from far off stage to recover, it only lets him bounce up 3 times. The 4th time will cause whoever touches it to go into Freefall. You can use this against Pac-Man if he uses at least 2 bounces to get back. Lastly, if you're trying to edgeguard or gimp an opponent off stage, you want to be careful that you don't accidentally knock them out of their helpless state when you're getting back to stage. That will let them recover for free. When you're learning a new character, it's crucial to know what moves they have that put them into Freefall. It's also important to know what moves put the opponent in Freefall and exploit those weaknesses accordingly. Several characters have items in their moveset that often form a crucial part of their game plan. Dealing with these items as the opponent can be troublesome, as they often have active hitboxes that stop you from picking them up easily. And by the time you do pick them up, the opponent is already in your face and punishing you for your foolishness. But here's a way to pick up the item and immediately use it without missing a beat. It's called the Dash Attack Cancel Item Grab. I highly recommend setting a shoulder button to jump. Run towards the item and press A to do a dash attack right as you get close to the item. You can also tilt the C stick forward or backward to do the attack. Right after you pick up the item with the dash attack, jump up while holding the left stick in any direction. If you do it right, you'll throw the item in the direction you tilted. If you don't tilt in any direction, you'll throw the item straight ahead. The dash attack will instead become an item throw because you picked up the item and jumped before the dash attack fully came out. If you don't want to throw the item immediately after jumping, you can Z-drop the item instead. Right after dash attack jumping, press the grab button. This should override the buffered attack and give you a Z-drop instead. In either case, the item should now belong to you. This means you can use the item to your advantage, whether you throw it or drop it straight down. There are other simpler ways you can pick up these items, but this method should let you immediately use the item, and also change up your momentum if you so choose. It's not ideal in every situation, but try it out as a mix-up option to catch the opponent off guard. I've talked a lot about the different in-game techniques you can do in Smash, both universally and for specific characters. But there is one thing outside the game you should absolutely prioritize when playing. Your controller. Ever since Brawl, Smash Bros. Has given you multiple options for controllers to use and what functions to assign to different buttons. I'll go over the most common controllers that competitors use, as well as my own personal choice. When it comes to competitive Smash, the default choice for most players is the GameCube controller. It's been a staple of Smash Bros. Ever since Melee. To this day, Nintendo still sells GameCube controllers specifically for Smash, alongside GameCube controller adapters. They have basically the perfect ergonomic structure and button layout for Smash. The A button is big and round to emphasize normal attacks, the B button is off to the side and isolated for special moves, and the jump buttons are uniquely shaped and next to each other on the opposite side for easy use. Both analog sticks have octagonal notches for easy 8-directional inputs, which can especially help with command inputs for the FGC characters. And the triggers and single shoulder button feel very nice to press for shields and grabs. The only real disadvantage is that you need an adapter to connect the GameCube controllers to a Switch for Smash Ultimate, which is sold separately. But there are several third-party options for adapters, like the Mayflash and Cloud Dream adapters. These adapters have built-in PC modes as well as compatibility with the Switch and the Wii U. There is also the issue that not every GameCube controller is built exactly the same. When Smash Ultimate first launched, Nintendo produced a new batch of black GameCube controllers with the Smash logo on the front. Smash 4 gave us black and white GameCube controllers with the fiery Smash 4 logo on the front. Then you have the original run of GameCube controllers from the Melee and Brawl eras. These ones just say GameCube on the front, and are the oldest GameCube controllers by many years. You can plug in any of these GameCube controllers to an adapter for Smash Ultimate. But if you don't already have a GameCube controller, your best chance of buying one today without breaking the bank is the Smash Ultimate controller. The older generations of GameCube controllers will set you back at least $100 for a used controller. Used controllers have no guarantee of quality, and new sealed units of old controllers are both rare and incredibly expensive. Even the Smash Ultimate controllers have become more expensive than they used to be, so be careful when buying one. Pro tip, go to Amazon Japan for better prices. Just be wary of their shipping rates. Up next is my personal choice, the Switch Pro Controller. This is Nintendo's version of a standard controller for the Switch, and is the other best choice for playing Smash Ultimate. It feels very good to hold in your hands with a nice ergonomic feel and a decent amount of weight to it. The face buttons are arranged neatly in a square, and the sticks, triggers, and shoulder buttons are well made and easy to press. I actually prefer the face buttons on the Pro Controller because the short hop macro requires pressing 2 jump buttons at once. I find it easier to press the X and Y buttons on the Pro Controller at the same time with one thumb, as opposed to the GameCube controller. I suppose the lack of octagonal notches on the Pro Controller's sticks can be an issue, but you can easily purchase third-party shells with these notches online. Another plus is that the Pro Controller is identical in button layout and design to the Xbox Series controller. Why is this good? Because I also play Smash Ultimate with an Xbox controller, on the Yuzu emulator, on my Windows laptop. There are indeed ways to play online multiplayer on an emulator, and Windows computers can accept Xbox controllers very easily by design. But that's a topic for another video. The main disadvantage to the Pro Controller is that using it wired somehow gives 1 to 2 more frames of input delay than using it wireless, which really doesn't make sense. So using the Pro Controller wirelessly is the better option. Having said that, some people like to make a big deal out of the differences in latency between GameCube and Pro Controllers. While it is true that different controllers have different amounts of input delay by 1 to 2 frames, I don't think it makes that big of a difference for most players. It's better to go with whichever controller is more comfortable for you to use. Overall, the Pro Controller is my go-to choice for Smash Ultimate, and it will likely stay that way for the next Smash, whenever that comes out. Another controller that's been gaining traction recently is the Smashbox. This is an arcade-style all-buttons controller that sits on your lap. It's supposed to cause less stress on your hands and wrists than a typical controller. There are several types of box-style controllers that exist, but the go-to Smashbox is made by the company Hitbox, and eSam has become a strong supporter of the Smashbox over the past year. I've never used it myself, so I can't personally vouch for its quality, but it is much more expensive than the average controller. You're basically buying another Switch with this price tag. It's also currently sold out on Hitbox's website, and there's no indication if or when they'll get another batch ready. There are other brands of box controllers, like Frame 1, also sold out, and the Box, which was designed for Melee. The biggest disadvantages I see are having to learn new muscle memory for a very different type of controller, as well as the price tag and availability for purchase. You might also have a difficult time carrying it around in tournaments. For most people, I'd recommend a regular controller instead. To be blunt, the Joy-Cons are a joke. They're very small individually, and they're very prone to stick drift if you use them too much. And sometimes even if you don't use them much. The standard controller shell that's included with the Joy-Cons does help somewhat, but it's still not as good as a regular controller. They're small, fragile, and simply not built for input-intensive games like Smash. Unless you have absolutely no other option, I would not recommend the Joy-Cons at all. I never use them, not even for games other than Smash. There are multiple brands of third-party controllers you can buy both online and in stores. These are cheaper than the official Nintendo controllers, but they're also not as well made. Just like buying used Nintendo controllers, there's no guarantee of quality with third-party brands. I've never used third-party controllers myself for that very reason, because I don't want to deal with all that hassle over their build quality. I would recommend saving up for an official Nintendo controller instead. I previously mentioned that I liked using an Xbox controller on my Windows laptop to play Smash on an emulator. But if you feel like committing sacrilege and using PlayStation or Xbox controllers on your Switch, there is an easy way to do so. There are special Bluetooth adapters you can buy online that accept all different brands of game controllers. You can plug the adapter into your Switch and use the controller you want on that Switch, even if the controller is from a totally different company. I would say that the 8-bit Do wireless USB adapter is your best bet of achieving this. But if you plan to do this at a tournament, you may want to ask the TOs if it's allowed just to be safe. And that should about cover it. If you think there are any controllers that I missed, or if you want to say what your favorite controller is, leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you made it to the end of this video, leave a comment with a star emoji. Thanks for watching. Usually there are 3 kinds of jumps in Smash Bros. Short hops and full hops on the ground, and double jumps in the air. But there is a 4th type of jump you can do at the ledge. It's called the Coyote Jump. You have to jump right as you start falling off a ledge. Since you're in the air, the game will give you a jump with 0 startup frames, just like a regular double jump. But if you do it right, you'll still have your actual double jump afterwards. As long as you jump within the first 4 frames of running off the ledge, you'll do a Coyote Jump. In addition to running off, walking off the ledge also works. Short hops and full hops rely on the jump squat to come out, because which one you do depends on how long you hold the jump button during the jump squat. This means the Coyote Jump only has 1 jump height, since there is no jump squat happening. You can create new combos and kill confirms with this technique that weren't previously possible. However, you can't use reverse aerial rush back airs out of a Coyote Jump, since you have to run off the ledge for this to work. There's also another version of this technique called the short Coyote Jump, which is achieved differently. When you fall off the ledge, this time you have to fast fall for a very short moment and then jump right afterwards. This gives you an even shorter jump than a typical short hop. The timing for this is very strict, so you'll have to practice it to get it down consistently. Once you get it, you can get faster 2-frame punishes, mix-up options for ledge trumps, and new combos and edgeguard options. Both types of Coyote Jumps will require practice, but they can give you new surprise options against off-stage opponents. Try it out the next time you send your opponent off-stage. Usually when a character uses an attack that moves them forward right at a ledge or the edge of a platform, the game stops them from falling off. But some characters have ways to bypass this restriction. If you do certain moves followed by jabbing near an edge, they can fall off the ledge with no lag and create brand new combos. This is called the jab ledge slip. This lets you create brand new combos and movement options that you didn't have before. Different characters have different moves that enable this technique. There are 9 characters that can do this tech. Bowser, Charizard, Dedede, Lucario, Snake, Wario, Villager, K. Rool, and Banjo-Kazooie. All of these fighters need to use specific moves at the ledge and then buffer their jabs. For Bowser, Charizard, Snake, and Wario, use their neutral specials at ledge, then buffer jab. Bowser and Charizard can jab as many times as you want, as long as you use Flame Breath first. For King Dedede, inhale and spit out an opponent, then buffer jab. For Lucario, use side special at the edge, then buffer jab. Lucario can also jab as many times as he wants afterwards. For Villager, use your watering can next to a ledge and buffer jab. You can only use the watering can while the tree sapling is planted, so you need to do that first. For King K. Rool and Banjo, you have to dash grab an opponent next to a ledge, then down throw them. While the opponent is buried, do your 3-hit jab combo. Since this tech requires you to be at the ledge or the edge of a platform, you may not have too many chances to use it in a match. But this can still be a way to catch opponents by surprise with new combos and attack options they didn't know about. In Smash Bros., Picking a character to play is one of the most important things you can do. But that's only half the battle. The other half is choosing the right stage to play on. Even though Smash has a ton of different stages, especially Ultimate, only a handful of them are tournament legal. Legal stages generally provide the fairest and most neutral environment for both players to fight on, without any hazards or awkward terrain layouts that drastically alter the flow of the fight. For example, take Hungrybox's online Coinbox tournament series. They have 5 starter stages and 3 counterpick stages. Starter stages are the ones you can choose from at the start of a set. Counterpick stages are added to the list after the first game. These stages provide slight advantages to certain fighters over others that warrant them not being starter stages. All of these stages have one central main stage, as well as neutral and stable platform layouts that don't heavily favor one character over another. On the flip side, there are multiple factors that can lead to a stage being banned. Here are some of the most common ones. Stage hazards that intrude on the players during gameplay can cause a match to spiral out of control. Some hazards can easily KO players if they get caught, while others just cause a lot of damage or jerk the players around by messing with their movement. This forces all the players to play around them and potentially stall the fight. The hazards on and off toggle has been a huge help for tournaments, as turning them off allows Pokemon Stadium 2 and Kalos Pokemon League to be legal stages. Both of these stages have multiple transformations with very disruptive hazards that interrupt gameplay. But with hazards off, you're left with both stages' starting forms, which have no hazards and good platform layouts. This is why pretty much all of the major Ultimate tournaments keep stage hazards off. Next are Caves of Life, which are areas with mostly enclosed spaces that have walls and/or ceilings on multiple sides. These walls make it exceptionally difficult for players to score KOs in the usual way. You can survive for much longer than normal, and teching becomes a much more important skill to use. Another big no-no is having permanent walk-offs, or places on a stage where you can just walk or run straight into a blast zone and lose a life. Smash Bros. Has blast zones on all 4 sides of the screen, but competitive players prefer blast zones to not have any walkable terrain right next to them. These allow for very powerful camping strategies, easy zero-to-deaths, and removing any need for typical offstage play and recoveries. Walls are another problem. They also allow strong camping spots and powerful zero-to-deaths, or at least very long combos, that shouldn't otherwise be possible. The only acceptable walls are ones that extend into the bottom blast zone, like the ones on PS2 and Kalos. These make wall-jumping recoveries much easier to pull off, but don't have any solid ground beneath them to allow for perpetual camping or extended combos. Next, any stage that significantly changes the basic gameplay loop and the best strategies for winning are unacceptable in tournaments. One such example is the Mario Bros. Stage. This stage has multiple hard floors that also act as ceilings, making it nearly impossible to score normal KOs. It also has no bottom blast zone. You have to throw the sidesteppers and shell creepers that come out of the pipes at opponents to KO them off the side. These animals, as well as the green flame that periodically shows up, are extremely powerful stage hazards. Combined with the stage's very weird layout, this makes for an easy banned stage. Another broader example is auto-scrolling stages. These stages force the players to keep running and jumping through the stage's many phases so they don't die off screen. This changes the gameplay loop from KO the opponent to make sure the stage doesn't KO you. And in tournaments, you only want to focus on the former. Any stage that has unusual platform layouts, or which is just too big or too small to fight on comfortably, are not good for tournaments. Battlefield and Final Destination are always present in competitive Smash rule sets because they are stable and symmetrical stages with no hazards and good-sized blast zones. All the other stages on the starter and counterpick lists are similar in those ways. They all have one large main stage with varying platform arrangements that don't get in the way of the fight. Some stages have water that you can swim in. This water often replaces the bottom blast zone and drastically affects the knockback of attacks that send you downward. It often takes far more knockback than usual to KO someone below the water. Players can swim back to the stage with no trouble, which eliminates the need for a good recovery. There's also the issue that you can drown in the water if you wait too long, and some fighters even take damage just from swimming. Water introduces too many new factors to be a fair element of competitive play, so stages with water are banned. None of the legal stages have any water to swim in. A few stages have slippery ground that reduces most fighters' traction. This means that when you stop walking or running, you'll slide forward a bit before actually stopping. This can mess up your positioning on stage if you're planning to stay in a specific spot for a read, or just proper spacing for your attacks. The ice climbers are immune to slippery floors, which gives them an unfair advantage compared to everyone else. So stages with slippery floors are banned. Lastly, many stages in the game are very similar to each other layout-wise, especially with hazards off. These similar stages are often banned just to reduce redundancy in tournament stage lists. For example, several stages are very similar to Battlefield with hazards off, such as Dreamland 64, Fountain of Dreams, and Midgar. All of these stages are banned in favor of Battlefield. Wily Castle with hazards off is too similar to Final Destination. Unova Pokemon League is too similar to Pokemon Stadium 2 and Small Battlefield. It's also visually very dark, and teleport recoveries don't move along the stage's underside that well. Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 are nearly identical, but tournaments have settled on Stadium 2 as the standard. Stadium 1 is sometimes used instead, but you won't see that very often. There is also debate between Pokemon Stadium 2 and Small Battlefield, and where both of those stages belong on stage lists. The two stages are very similar, but they do have several differences like their sizes. Therefore, only one of these stages usually goes into the starter list, while the other one goes to the counterpick list. The same argument applies to Hazards Off Smashville and Hollow Bastion. Smashville is universally a starter stage, while Hollow Bastion is either a starter or counterpick stage. There is no universally agreed upon legal stage list. Different tournaments have at least one or two stages that aren't present in other tournaments' stage lists. But you can generally count on there being only a handful of stages to choose from, with hazards off, whenever you enter a tournament yourself. Armor is a mechanic in Smash that lets fighters take damage from an attack while taking no knockback or reduced knockback. There are several kinds of armor in Smash Ultimate, with some of them being exclusive to specific characters. I'll go over each of the major kinds of armor, followed by some examples. Super armor is the one most people will think of first. No matter how much damage or knockback a fighter takes from an attack, they will not flinch nor take any knockback. You can easily see this effect in pretty much any boss battle in Smash, as these bosses never flinch against any of your attacks. Super armor is present in many different moves, with no real rhyme or reason as to which moves have it. Perhaps the most infamous example is Little Mac's Smash attacks, all of which have super armor. This super armor is the reason that Mac's ground game is considered so good, as it makes challenging him up close a big mistake. Though sometimes Mac's punches might not hit opponents when they really should have, which is stupid, but I digress. Mac also has super armor in his KO uppercut, so challenging this move up close is also a bad idea, unless you attack fast enough, or stay a good distance away. But nothing is stopping you from grabbing the opponent out of their attack. This is the one weakness of all armor-based attacks. A lot of these moves are very slow to counterbalance their armor, and they're also unsafe on shield. The second type is damage-based armor. This works the same as super armor, but with one key difference. If the attacker is hit by an attack that does enough damage, they will flinch and stop the attack. The damage threshold is different for every move that has damage-based armor. For the most part, this armor is used by super heavyweights to help with their slow but powerful attacks. In these cases, the damage threshold is very low, generally being around 8%. This makes damage-based armor very matchup dependent, as characters with higher average damage outputs can easily break through this type of armor. Moves with this armor are also unsafe when blocked or missed, so you have to be careful when using them. But you can still grab the opponent with no trouble. I should also mention that there are technically two kinds of damage-based armor: cumulative and non-cumulative. Cumulative damage armor will account for all the damage that the fighter takes from a series of hitboxes before the armored attack is unleashed. The only instance of cumulative damage armor is King K. Rool's Crownerang. It has a threshold of 12% damage. If you're able to hit K. Rool for at least that much damage across all of your hitboxes, the armor will break and he will flinch. Sometimes, due to floating point errors, certain moves that don't reach above the damage threshold can still break the armor. All other instances of damage-based armor are non-cumulative. Every hitbox you throw out is judged against the damage threshold separately, not cumulatively. For example, Snake's Cypher has 7% damage-based armor, which is non-cumulative. This means you need to hit Snake with a single blow that deals at least that much damage to break the armor. The third and final major type is knockback-based armor. This armor stops a player from taking knockback until it reaches a certain amount. There are two types of this kind of armor: subtractive and non-subtractive. The very first instance of knockback-based armor is Yoshi's Double Jump. This jump uses a subtractive system to resist enemy attacks based on their attack strength and the armor itself. Yoshi's Double Jump will subtract 120 knockback units from whatever knockback he receives. If the result is negative, the armor tanks the hit entirely and Yoshi does not flinch. If the result is positive, the attack breaks through, but Yoshi will suffer less knockback than normal. Bowser and Kazuya have passive knockback armor respectively called Tough Guy and Tough Body. These have much lower knockback thresholds than Yoshi's Double Jump, only tanking 19 and 14 units of knockback respectively. These passive armors are non-subtractive, meaning that the fighters will take full knockback if their armor is broken. This armor can also take advantage of crouch canceling, which reduces knockback on players who are crouching the moment they get hit. This armor is heavily dependent on percent damage, as knockback is calculated based on percentage. The longer a game goes on, the less effective this type of armor becomes. Fighters that hit harder can completely ignore this armor, and Rage can also help break this armor more easily. Lastly, going back to K. Rool, he has an entirely unique armor system exclusive to him thanks to his gold-plated belly armor. This armor is not passive, as it only works during specific attacks. Here are all the attacks that use the belly armor. K. Rool's belly armor has 18.01 HP to work with. But since this armor splits the incoming damage between itself and K. Rool 50-50, it's more like 36.02 HP. The armor regenerates 0.08 HP every 16 frames, or around 0.3 HP per second. This means it takes around 1 minute to fully recover the belly armor's health. One key factor to remember is the 1v1 damage multiplier. Whereas every other form of armor does not factor in the 1v1 multiplier, K. Rool's belly armor does factor it in. This is because the belly armor takes the final damage output that it tanks and splits it up between itself and K. Rool half and half. Other damage multipliers like Monado Arts, Ink, Revenge, and others also affect the belly armor, which can make the armor surprisingly easy to break in some situations. Stale move negation also factors into breaking the armor. Completely fresh moves deal more damage and can break the armor faster, while stale moves are weaker and break it more slowly. The belly armor visually cracks open to show how much health it has left. When it has 11.5 HP left, it cracks a little bit. When it has 6.1 HP left, it cracks a lot. When it reaches 0 HP, it breaks and leaves K. Rool dizzy, as if he just got his shield broken. Just like all other types of armor, K. Rool's belly armor cannot be used against unblockable attacks, grabs, or command grabs. Lastly, the belly armor only protects K. Rool's stomach. It does not protect his face or backside, which means carefully positioning your attacks so they don't hit his belly is a viable strategy. If you play K. Rool, managing this armor system is crucial to success. You don't want to get caught by an ultra-powerful move that breaks your armor instantly. On the other hand, you can use it to challenge moves that would otherwise make you flinch and get some nasty KOs as a result. Hey there, thanks for watching this video. If you made it this far, I just want to say I really appreciate you watching until the end. This video took a lot of time to make, so you could spread it around to people you know. That would help a lot. Also, I'd really appreciate a follow on Twitch, where I'm streaming at least once a week. I'll always leave updates on my YouTube community tab about when and what I'm streaming. Thanks again for watching, I really appreciate your viewership. See you next time.